Without further ado, super excited to welcome in Pesach Stadlin, who is a friend, student, lifeologist, rabbi, tree sitter, creative flow channeler, spirit guide at Eden Village Camp, and has his online Jewish mystery school. And we are very excited to have you here today and to learn with you.
In prayer, we find ourselves here in hope and prayer. We're right here in hope and prayer. We find ourselves here in hope and prayer. We're right here. We rise, humbly hearted rise. We won't be divided, right? Spirit to guide us, right? In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. We rise. All of the children rise. Elders with wisdom rise. Ancestors around rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. Shalom, Wilderness Torah. This is Ambassador Pankiki Skywalker reporting alive, direct and indirect from the hills of Jerusalem, with love, with hope, with prayer. Give big thanks to the great organizer of this great organization, the Ribono Shel Olam, the great webmaster, and also give big thanks to all the pieces of earth, the earth particles that are in all these devices, which allow us to connect in a way that we can see and hear each other, even though we're always connected, right? It's like, how small are the devices going to get so that we realize that we're always connected? Big thanks to Wilderness Torah, to Zelig, who I know as the Pickle Man, because we grew up, we spiritually, Bizrat Hashem, with the help, with the grace of the divine, we're still blossoming. But we had a lot of our sort of Jewish eco blossomings in the same community, Isabella Friedman community. And Baruch Hashem is such a glorious thing to watch what Wilderness Torah is doing. So I just want to send you all like crazy love and celebrate the movement. I branched off with my brother. We took the flame of what we learned and made Eden Village Camp. So we got little, spots all around the world, hopefully, of illumination, little lighthouses. I call them islands of sanity also, because it's a crazy world. It's a crazy world out there. So what's up, crew? Hello, old friends and new friends. I see Amy's in the house and Ben. Hi. I want to speak before we're going to get into the unknown. We're going to get into surfing the waves of the mystery and how to do it with grace and beauty and blessing. That sort of like life. That's sort of just what's happening all the time. So we're going to get into that. But I also want to, of course, acknowledge the great what's happening in America and in the world. There's an unprecedented like reboot, figuring it out, coming back to the design table. People sort of waking up and, sometimes when you wake up from a scene that's not so beautiful, you wake up and you're still clenching and you scream. You're like, and it's healthy to scream when the situation around us is not healthy. It's right to scream. It's right to cry. And so I want to dedicate our learning tonight to shleimut, to wholeness and integration, which I know Wilderness Torah does such a overt and transparent way of being inclusive, of different types of Jews and different types of people, right? Different sectors of life coming together in a grand harmony. So I want to give a shout out to Shlemut, which makes shalom, which makes peace, the peace that comes from integration and wholeness. I would like to dedicate our learning tonight in these unprecedented times. In these unprecedented times when, we're looking for direction, we're looking for clarity. I see people screaming on the streets, but really what I think we're screaming about is blueprints. We need more maps. We need more guidance, I would say. And that is a mighty task. That is a mighty task. One thing that's become apparent, just to make a mega frame for these times, and then we're going to go into the unknown together more specifically. But one thing that I see is the collective I of the human species has been called. It's been drawn together, right? Normally our focus is all over the place, but in the last few months, very quickly, our consciousness has been pulled in together as a species in an unprecedented way. Some people say maybe the last time it was so focused was in the time of the flood of Noah, when the whole world was like, oh wow. Like everybody knew that was happening, but the difference is they couldn't really communicate. They couldn't talk about it. They couldn't focus it all together. And so now the collective I, really maybe for the second time in human history, the collective I has been drawn together ironically to something invisible, to an invisible virus, right? To an invisible virus. And so I guess I just want to put this out there while I have a moment at your sacred circle, at your sacred campfire. Just the sacred question before we're going to dive into one direction, the sacred question of like, what ought we to be staring at? Okay, so the eyes together and we're focusing on a virus and everyone says, oh, this person's doing a bad job. This person's doing a great job. I think like this, that person's stupid. That person's smart. Hope, despair. Okay, feelings. We can get so caught up in our stories and our judgments and our feelings that we miss the grand event, which is really that the collective I has been focused. In the Lord of the Rings, right, there's like a dark eye that gets focused. They call that like the eye of Mordor, right? But there's also an eye of light that's also been focused. So that's a sacred question that I want to drop on all of you and all of us. Hold on one second. I like to bring some props. I know that Captain, I don't know if y'all know this about Captain Zelig, but he is a sailor. He's a sailor man. And I and he were part of a nautical Baal Shem Tovic intentional community, okay? And I hope this isn't too all over the place. Zelig, you're not gonna like kick me off of this thing, right? No, this is important stuff. We were on so last year, some of us on the crew were on a sailing trip, and one of the things that we wanted to play with, and we can play with this on a small scale and on a large scale, is something that does not get enough attention, and I would like to bring attention to it right here. I'm going to speak into my zucchini microphone that I just harvested from the forest of Jerusalem, from the piece of land on the hills of Jerusalem. Can you hear me on this thing? I would like to call attention to collective consciousness. The power of collective consciousness. Before we talk about the power of collective consciousness and the art of navigating together in the unknown with our hearts and our consciousness. The art. It doesn't get enough songs written about it. There's not enough workshops. How do we move together? There's a lot of great art forms and sciences in California, to study the art of the personal journey, right? Right, Super Ben? Right, Jay? Nechama, when we talk about the art, hopefully we're bringing more light and consciousness to the art of how do I make decisions? Where do my decisions come from? I know, right? You talk to a friend, you sit with a friend, you're like, yo, I'm struggling with this, that, or the other thing. And they're like, oh, this might be because of that thing that happened before. And we try to figure out where we're coming from as individuals. How do I move? What moves me and how do I want to move? So that's already a grand question. What moves me? But then we get a crew, we get a crew of us, 20 of us, put us on spaceship Earth together, you put us on a sailboat together, you put us around Zelig's campfire together. How do we move? Because we could do anything. Because we could go anywhere in this infinite sea, right? So I wanted to frame it like that, and you can copy and paste that sentiment on police brutality, right? You could copy and paste that notion to police brutality. You can copy and paste that notion of collective consciousness of how do we move as a togetherness. You can copy and paste it on Wilderness Torah, right? How do we move as how do we move as a community? You could do how do you move as your quarantine, right? How do we make decisions as a quarantine? My funny quarantine, right? How do you move as a sweet comic quarantine? How do we make decisions? How do we move? Because you could do anything, right? You could do anything. So collective consciousness. And I want to give my first shout out towards collective consciousness, to the unknown in the direction of collective consciousness, is that I am proposing that we navigate better. We make more beautiful life enhancing. I notice I'm replacing the word better with life enhancing. What is good? Good is a vague concept unless it has a next part. Good for what? Good. It's good. It's more life enhancing. Our decisions, our motions, our ripples will be more life enhancing when we're navigating with an appreciation and a celebration of the great mystery of the unknown. That our ripples will be more, our fruits will be sweeter, our designs will be more holy and healthy, more harmonious, when we have the humility and the awe and almost like a love and an inviting of the unknown. Imagine you're sailing on a boat with a bunch of your homies and like most of them are resistant to the unknown, right? You're all yogis. You'll get a crick in your back if you try to do a maneuver, but you're not flexible with the unknown dancing. So let's just stop right there for 1 second. I know I could talk. My name is Pesach, which translates to a speaking mouth, Pesach, but the medicine for a speaking mouth is a listening ear, an ozen shomea. So I would love to unmute all of your hearts and listen for so long. But in the meantime, if anybody has any reflections, sounds, dance motions, or protests, I would like to open up the floor to any thoughts or feedback so far before we go further into the unknown. That's a song the kids are listening to. Into the unknown. The kids are. It's the whole thing. Baruch Hashem. Any thoughts, feedback, protests so far?
I'm raising my hand.
Okay, Cohen. Chevre, this is Joel Kaplan from the Kotel. The Kotel, the foundation stone, which according to our tradition is a portal place where the life code, the life force flows into this world and where our prayer forces goes into the spirit world. He is standing right next to the portal. This is big news. Somebody start live streaming. Yes, go ahead.
Well, I actually just want to make a brief metaphor comparison. Here at the Kotel now, there are all these little circles 2 meters apart. It's sort of like a giant game of Twister. You see people putting their hands on them and it's everybody's marked. And I'm thinking about it's a metaphor for respect. Like it can be looked at as we have to stand apart, but by standing apart, we're actually it's what was the rules before a few months ago, what was V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha is different than now. And it segues into what you were saying. It's about living that question in every moment. What can I do to be more loving and self-respectful now so that I can be more loving and respectful to my neighbor? And it segues into that idea of the collective unconscious. So that's just what I wanted to say. From the Twister game at the Kotel, markings on the floor, where do we stand?
That is so cool. Thank you so much for zooming in from the Kotel and with your Kohenic priestly wisdom. And I will say, I hope it's all right. Joe Kaplan is a super dear bro and friend. And in traveling with Joe Kaplan in a car is like a grand experience of noticing the hidden possibilities in a moment. Okay, I guess, and there's so many directions we can go, but I want to go where Joe went. One blessing of celebrating the unknown is that so often in our life, the magic is hidden, the magic opportunity, the sparks of hidden perfection, of blessing, the sparks of grace, of chen, are not in our preconceived notion. They're often the mysterious person, the Eliyahu Hanavi, who's sitting next to us. But if we're too busy with something else, we might miss Eliyahu Hanavi. I promise in a hot second, we're going to go deeper into the unknown. But before we do, as a practical safety point, I would like to first give a shout out to the known, to schedules, to calendars, to divine timing, to showing up when you say you're going to show up, to destinations. Are you allowed to, California, are we allowed to celebrate the destination? Is that going out? Am I going to get tomatoes thrown at me? It's all about the journey, man. I mean, can we make destinations a little bit more back end style? Am I going to get shut off here? I see, Pickle Man, I see your mouth thing going. I can't hear you though. Did you have were you saying something? Maybe he's writing something. We're all about the vision. Oh, Pickle Man says we're all about the vision. Good. I'm going further, not just the vision, a destination. I know that's radical. But Judaism is a radical religion. It's about radical balance. Radical balance. And part of the medicine, just to go meta again, part of the medicine of the world is bringing back harmony and balance, of course, right? So we're about to, and notice what I'm doing. I'm being transparent here. We're going to dive into the great mystery, the unknown, the variables, the hidden, right? Before we go there, I want to give kavod to the other balancing force. And that's very important because people are usually extremists and they're all about the unknown, but have no solids in their life. And whenever we have a tree of life situation with multiple branches, which is pretty much like everything, and things get out of balance, the Lubavitcher Rebbe says, don't be, and Shimi Winter also says, don't be an extremist. But if you're going to be an extremist, be extremely kind. That's the only kind of extremity that's kosher. Don't be an extremist, people. If you're going to be extremist, be extremely kind. Even that can be dangerous, of course, because chesed really gets translated to flow. And when you have flow without any boundaries or edges or limits, it looks like not having an ozone layer or not having a beach to control the water's edge, right? So flow and balance. I just want to be transparent about honoring the destination. I hope it's all right to make a second assertion, that a healthy posture is to celebrate destinations and the journey and the unknown, right? The unknown and the known. We got enough time in the day for both, don't we, Pickle Man? You got enough time for destinations and journeying? Because, of course, some people, you probably know these people who like they're on their way to great fun or to great happiness, but the way there is like, we're late. You get here. Why did you? We're gonna miss that. And it's like, come on, can't the way to peace be peaceful? Can the way to happiness? Of course it can be happy. Can the way to celebration be celebratory? Of course it can. And it's a bracha when the way to something resembles it. So I just wanted to give a l'chaim. L'chaim, this is a Pearlstone Jewish Center, Pearlstone Center water bottle. I have water bottles from most of your organizations. I have a collection, l'chaim. I already said a bracha on this. So l'chaim to the journey and the destination. We've got time enough for both. Don't be an extremist. Some people are all about the destination. They don't know how to walk in the world in a pleasant way. And there's people who know how to be pleasant, how to go places in a good way, but they have no idea where they're going. Let's do both, huh? All right. Into the unknown. Let's go further into the unknown. I am contesting. I think this is my third affirmation. Is that the right word? My third declaration. Declaration! This is a biblical horn. I made a declaration. Third declaration, if anybody's keeping track, is that a lot of the best stuff in life comes from the unknown. Right? A lot of the best stuff. Yes, the container is great, and you all have all your meetings, and you make your vessels, and you make your schedules, and strong vessels. Yes, yes, yes. But when you go home from a Wilderness Torah, Sukkot on the farm event, and someone's like, "Yo, how was WT on the farm? What happened?" Like, it was transformative. It was like the best thing that ever happened in my whole year. You're like, "Well, what happened?" What are you more likely to be like? Yo, the schedule was very organized. We woke up, we did Modeh exactly at 8 o'clock, and then the food was served precisely at noon. And that's great. And that helps the magic happen when you have strong containers. Yes. Oftentimes, the stories that really fire us up, that are transformational, that are positively, beneficially bacterial. You can't say viral anymore. The beneficially bacterial stories that spread like holy fire, they come from the things that happen, when Super Pasolet Man, Simcha Scotty, Chatan Danan Schwartz, and I, we're about to go to bed, but then Super Pasolet Rock and Disco Jay was like, Ambassador Skywalker, let's go for a hike. And it's like, it might have been like day 3 of Sukkah Fest, but like that's when the story picks up. When that jam session that wasn't on the schedule necessarily, the person that you met that you didn't plan to meet, the teaching that you got that hit something in you that you didn't know was there, right? That's where a lot of the magic happens. You go to Zelig Pickle Man's party for his birthday or for his smicha, Baruch Hashem. You go to some great party and you come back from the party and you're like, what happened? I'm telling you, almost all the stories that you tell about what made the Pickle Man's party awesome was when somebody did something that wasn't scripted. Stephen Wimbrant was swinging from the rafters. Casey Baruch was playing fiddle with his ear. Oh, didn't see that coming. Right? How about prayer? You want to bring the story to prayer? Your prayer is awesome, and it's important to have kavua, tefillah, solid containers. Yes. Our rabbis in the Gemara, our ancestors say that if you didn't have some newness, some chidush, if you didn't have even a speck of new heartfelt feelings in your prayer, say the rabbis in the Gemara, some of them say, you might not have even prayed. You might not have even prayed. Yeah, you did. You were supposed to, and you did. You said the words, you bowed. But was your prayer real? Was it real tefillah? Was there anything new? I'm going to get you 1 second, Super Solomon. One halachic point. This has very important personal ramifications for being prayerologists, lifeologists. But also the halachic, according to the halacha, has a question. If you have a chiyuv, an obligation to pray at a certain time, and you just went through the motions and your heart wasn't in it, there was no newness. According to these rabbis, you might have to go back and pray again or pray for real because you didn't actually, they asked the question, did you actually fulfill? your chiyuv, your obligation to pray. See, it even has practical ramifications. Super Psolet man, Chatan Danan. Yes, sir.
Oh, hello. Grateful for you, Freedom Stadlin, and all your teachers and parents and womb mates. We just completed Shavuot, Shlemut, right? Chag HaShlemut, as Rav Zelig and you mentioned earlier in your drash here. I reached the top of the mountain. I'm perplexed as to what comes next. Am I just sliding? Am I going on a grand slide? I actually was with my kala on the mountains last weekend, and we slid on our butts, in the snow. That was awesome. Is that how do we do that gracefully? And what are we sliding towards? I'm kind of at the top. And I know at the top is also a cliff, right? We can fall really steep, or I'm lost. I'm wondering if you have any guidance for me where to go once we reach the top.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Tell me more about being on the top of the mountain, what that means to you, if you would.
It's both. It's a couple things. I think what it means, there's both a humility, because Yirah Hashem is so grand. Fear of Hashem and the awe of Hashem is so grand there. And I'm receiving revelation, while at the same time, I've experienced in my life, the constitution of me is there's a lot of ego that happens there too. I can do anything type of thing.
It's very powerful. Of course, it's very powerful to be clear on anything, to have clarity.
Yeah.
So thank you, first of all, for describing the mountain for all of us. Of course, Moshe is our lead educator, right? And by the way, Moshe himself in the Torah, right? There's a great story where he has his mystery school, his prophecy school of 70 elders, and people start prophesizing in town. Right? And word gets to him, people are doing what you're doing out in town, not in this circle. And he's like, hello, oh my gosh, if all of the nation were prophets, Moshe said. That was what Moshe wanted. He wanted a nation of prophets. Okay, so we can go into your questions some more. In Judaism, there's different levels. I've been trained in Wilderness First Aid, maybe with you, Simchat Torah. There's different LOC, levels of consciousness. So there's being unconscious, there's being awake, alive, but your mind is basically your consciousness has been hijacked by, I'd say, idolatrous forces like money and Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. Then there's having consciousness. Then there's having Ruach HaKodesh, where we have a divine wind, where we know that there's a divine flow, and it's our job to sail with it and let it guide us. And then there's prophecy. That's what I would say. What prophecy is that's the top of the mountain, where we are a humble, clear mirror of divine information. The thing is, it's not just divine information. There were lots of prophets. And part of being on the mountain, I believe, Simcha Scotty, Rockin', Disco, J Super, Pasolet Man, Chatan in the house. Part of it is with that clarity is that you know what to do actually with it. Moses was very clear often on I'm clear on what to say because it's from a divine source, and I'm clear on what my next move is. And he would then go down and do what the inner clarity told him. See, there's not one download. People want to what's the one thing to do? The thing is, I think when we become clear, Spirit wants different things from different people. But it usually involves being helpful and sharing and inviting people, right? It usually involves one of those attributes, right? So that's a little bit of
what
mosaic.
What about the cloud?
Right. Well, so some people, it's their job. So for some people, it's their job from the mountain to steer the cloud. There were other prophets who their job was to sit under a tree and wait for somebody to come to them. It was another prophet's job to go in the field with the sheep and make music. I mean, at one point that was the prophet David's, that was his prophetic exercise, was to sit alone in a field and play the harp.
Do you think that we have the ability to prophesize?
Yeah. In our Jewish mystery tradition, it's the highest level of consciousness. And furthermore, to tie it into the news of the day, it might be part of the missing medicine for societal design. When you see people raging on the streets tonight, you know, what they're really upset about, really, I hope this is all right to presume, but it's we want a better societal design. And nobody's really done a great job of designing societies. There's been like varying degrees of heinous, usually, and varying degrees of exploitive, different flavors of exploitation. And some of these societal designs have come maybe from a general good. Oh, I want all the masses to have, to have food, and it comes from a good place. But, and so, when we say we don't like what's happening in the world, it's easy to point a finger and say that's bad and wrong. What I started out by saying about the collective I being focused, we need more energy and clarity on what the blueprints for what our yes is, what is the good. And we have to walk humbly in that direction, because so many people have attempted to make societal designs and it looked like Stalin. It looked like massive death and darkness, right? So it's a mighty task. And I'll go back to the unknown. When you have a mighty task, like you want to engage in the art of societal design, I would say part of humility, the humility that you're talking about, Super Solar Man, is honoring the unknown, that you don't know. You listen to everybody's voices. There's a lot of clinging to knowing, and it's good. Again, destinations. I have this idea. This is what we need. There's a time for that, but with balance, there's also a tempering of woe. This is a huge, mighty quest. Let's move forward, honoring the great mystery. Let's tap into that. Like, what are we tapping into as designers? What is our source? What are we plugged into? Right?
Captain, this Pesach Stadlin has captained me around the seas at times when I've been a lost sailor. Yeah, please. Yes. So in the Jewish blueprint is what I'm asking. We got, right, that's the 6th year. Shavuot just passed. Shemitah's approaching Rosh Hashanah. Like, as if you're the captain of this ship right now, right here, WT Virtual Village, please, where are we on the map? Where's our Torah instruction manual guiding us? On your boat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's a great question. It's the most foundational question of very good. Thank you. It's actually like the basis of Judaism, of Israelitism rather, is that we are a people with a vision of a world in harmony with itself, of a shift in human nature. That this is what our channelers who've been on the mountain of clarity, and they came down and they told us about struggle. They told us about suffering. They told us about cause and effect, about spiritual cause and effect. That when you dishonor spirit, when you dishonor people, when you have sick societies, that you get sickness, you have hurt, and then hurt leads to hurt, because hurt people. The prophets spoke about that, but that's not your question. Your question is about destination. The prophets also spoke about destination. They described a shift in human nature, in world nature, right? A lion laying with a lamb means that the nature of the lion is going to change. We're humans. It's easy to hide that identity card. So all the weird crap, pardon me, kids, all the weird junk that humans do, that's part of our human nature. I say our human nature right now. Okay? And when we talk about nation not spending so much energy on killing greed and not spending so much energy, right, and having healthy societal designs, that will be a change. Now I ask you, and I know the answer for a bunch of you, but have you ever changed? Has your nature changed? The nature of what it means to be a zelig, an aviva, a malka, as you've been developing, as your character has been developing, has your nature, the nature of what it means to be a Amy or a malka. You don't have to answer out loud. You know, as your home base of what it means to be a super Ben, has it shifted at all in your life so far? Yeah, it has. It has. And that is the pudding. That's the proof in the pudding. That's the proof in the pudding that it's possible that our nature can change. If you've changed your nature this much in this little epic life of yours, so we know that change is possible. And then what we're talking about, Simcha Scotty Super Solat Man Schwartz, is changing human nature, okay? And there's a lot of meta ways that can happen. There's a lot of micro ways, and there's not one size fits all necessarily. You notice as a permaculturalist, we got certified in permaculture design together, that you have different garden designs for different climates, right? The thing is, what are we tapping into while we're designing, right? Are we tapped in? Yes, Pickle Man.
You said to change our human nature. Do you think it's changing our human nature or returning back to some nature that we forgot or we departed from? Or
it's okay. I mean, that's a subtle question. It's a change of course. It's a change of course. The Garden of Eden was the Garden of Eden. There's a Garden of Eden, a Garden of Eden that will be, and the most importantly, there's the Garden of Eden that's available to us right now. That's always available. The hidden spark. And I'm telling you what I've come to like scream about, to blow the shofar about is like what you're saying is like it's available. Like it's available. Like it's ki karov elecha hadavar me'od. It's very close to us. These things that we're talking about, they're lo b'shamayim hi. It's not some, we talk about it like a fairy tale, but you know, due to the times that we're in, you know, what I'm saying is like, it is available, the grace code. Now, the thing is, Super Pasolet, man, is if you're on the mountain, but everybody's not on the mountain, like, can you fully be on the mountain when so many people are suffering, right? How can you really fully be? Some say the reason that Chava gave Adam Rishon the fruit was to kick him out of the garden, because he was so caught up in his little bliss bubble in his little Garden of Eden that he wasn't seeing the great everything. And so by giving him the fruit, she kicked him off the couch. Like he was sitting there just watching reruns of the Eagles Super Bowl victory over the Patriots over and over again, just like perfect. Like the world is perfect. Tom Brady got sacked. We got like you just watch, everything's perfect in the world. But hey, do you have a straw of consciousness? Do you have a kesher to the suffering of the world? And that Super Pasolet man is often what people report doing when they get to the mountain, is they go up and down the mountain. They come down and they come to the people and they bring medicine and they bring fruits and they bring song and they bring healing and they bring listening. They bring whatever. The details of what we each bring when we come down and who it affects, those are in the realm of the great unknown, the great mystery. Okay. And you can sit with a friend and they can help you figure out what your offering is coming down. But it often, the bodhisattva, the tzaddik, comes back down into the world because the thinking is that maybe you can't really fully be on the mountain if everybody else is struggling and suffering. So, right? I mean, what about your consciousness? Is your consciousness fully on the mountain, even while like people are getting choked on the streets, you know, for nothing? You know, does your mountain include that? And if it does, you're going to want to move in that direction with your medicine. Okay. Whoosh. All right. Can I get a tequila? All right, let's get a little practical with the unknown. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Let's bring it down a little bit even more into the realm of the practical. Okay. We want the world to change. Okay, and this ties into your great question, your great Shaila. Simcha Scotty Swartz Pasola. We want the world to change. We want the world to be corrected, right? People, there's millions of people in the world on the streets tonight screaming. And if you could hear beneath the words, what are they saying? They're saying, we want this corrected. We want to live in a correct society. We want a correct world. We want all these injustices fixed or corrected, right? We agree, right? This is incorrect behavior. We want correct behavior. We demand correct society, right? Societal design. But how come we often have such a hard time being corrected ourselves? What is with that? Why, when we microcosms of the macrocosm, when we get corrected, oftentimes we're kicking and screaming. Look at any debate on Facebook, any argument, and I'm sure there's a ton of them. Do you see anybody celebrating being corrected? Somebody's getting corrected. Somebody's getting right. Look at any debate. There's likely a wrong misthinking that's actually being pointed out. How often do you see people celebrating being corrected on the internet, if ever? For my fifth proclamation, possibly, I would like to proclaim that part of the fixing of the world, the macrocosm, is us celebrating being corrected. And part of the art of that is celebrating the unknown. If you are Captain Unknown, what do I know? Correct me, please. I'm not Captain Know-It-All Pants. I'm just trying to figure things out here too. And if you can correct me, if I said something that's wrong and you correct me, hopefully you do it in a sniut, beautiful way that I can receive. I mean, there's ways of tikkun. Rabbi Nachman says, though, that when somebody barks you out, you're also supposed to, part of your brain, part of your third ear is supposed to listen to them and say, oh, maybe there's something in there. Maybe there's medicine in there. This person, God forbid, chews us out. Maybe there's medicine, right? So yes, there is an art to giving corrective feedback, okay? But why are we so averse to being corrected when correcting, everyone cares so much about correcting. We want our politicians to correct. We want our judicial system to correct. We want police brutality to correct. Yet when we try to correct each other, it's usually such a mess, to the point that often we don't even share our medicine with each other out of fear of retaliation for just trying to be helpful and correct somebody. Adam olam katan, olam adam gadol. Everything that we see is a reflection. You want the world to correct? Be a person who celebrates correcting, being corrected, and the unknown. Be a champion of that. It's all tied in with humility, which is the key recipe for Moshe. That was his key attribute. You want to be on the top of the mountain. You want to receive. You got to be humble. And a great part of humility is celebrating the unknown. Not just celebrating it, inviting it to your parties. Invite the unknown to your parties. Plan it in your schedule. Plan for it. The monkey energy, the mystery energy. Plan it in your services. Planned unknown, right? It's funny. Any thoughts about why we kick and scream sometimes in the realms of correcting? I'm going to look at chats. Oh my God, there's a whole chat scene over here. I'm gonna open up the mic. Any thoughts, reflections, protests? I would love to be corrected, by the way. I would love to I would love to show the love of fixing. Yes. Pickle Man.
Reb Zalman put it beautifully when he said the epoch that we have been in over the last, say, 2 millennia, the Piscean age, is one of dialectic, meaning, I'm right, you're wrong, you're right, I'm wrong, majority opinion, minority opinion, domination, submission, and that we're leaving that time now. We're going into a different era when a unified field is what the medicine is being called for. So no longer can we make decisions the way we used to. No longer can we organize our systems of leadership the way we used to. No longer can we, use our systems of domination and control that were the organizing strategies and survival strategies of our time. So this is the movement that I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
Piscean age, Aquarian age. Yes.
This is a whole other Wilderness Torah class that actually I almost made this whole class, like the entirety. I wrote this on the Wilderness Torah dry erase board when I got to spend some time in there. This is an under-celebrated topic, is that the humanity is coming out of a multi-thousand-year age of, there's not words big enough and dark enough to talk about what the empires, the age of manpires and empires did to humanity in terms of the pillaging and the hoarding and the hurting. And it just went out of style. Empires just went out of style yesterday. Okay, so we are very new at this, like how to be a decent society thing. We're very, very, very new at it. Okay, any other thoughts? I have got one more mystery point to make. I want to relate it to Shavuot. There's a lot of talk about Shavuot on the thread, and sacred sailing. Shavuot, Torah study, and sacred sailing. One unique feature of Wilderness Torah, and it's not to be taken for granted, is that I see we just got a couple minutes left. When we study Torah, I guess if I'll give us a bracha, that when we study Torah, it's a journey in the wilderness of the unknown. That it's a journey that we're leaving a port of the familiar. Even though it's the same Torah portion you've studied already 5, 10, 15, 20 times already, that we approach it with adventure, with mystery, like a sailor who's leaving their comfortable port, going into waters that they've never seen before, to islands and beaches that they've never seen before. That's the Gilui, the revelation, and that's what happens on the mountain, is revelation of what wasn't known, and it becomes known, right? And so I just we'll give an extra shout out to our Torah learning. Hey Jen, in some cultures, when you study sacred text, it is not a sail into the cosmic unknown with questioning. There's many religious practices, probably not in California, but like where you just learn and memorize and repeat. It's not encouraging you to wrestle with the divine. How cool is that that's the name of our nation, is the Divine Mystery Wrestlers. Okay, so I hope that I have helped to feed your fire of celebrating the great mystery, of calling a little bit of attention to the great time that we're in. We spoke about collective consciousness. We spoke about the collective focus of humanity. I asked you the sacred question of what are we staring at, and what ought we to stare at? What would be the most life-enhancing offering or billboard that you can muster, that we can muster? Those are sacred questions that I left us with. I tried to make a case that what makes an awesome party or an awesome prayer event is at least a little bit of the spice of mystery, that our prayers require a bissel of the unknown, and that our Torah study can also be a journey into the unknown. Thank you so much for welcoming me to your campfire. May our societies be healthy. May our bodies be healthy. May we be medicine. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your space with me. I do have a mystery school with online classes. I'm currently working with Eden Village Camp, preparing our summer's offering for Eden Village Camp. I do private classes too, so I'm still doing that. But in 2 weeks, I'm going to be starting back up with songwriting, prophecy school, mystery school, and exploring the unknown together. And so you're welcome to go to my webpage, pesachstadlin.com, and you can check out some more stuff there. And viva la evolution.
Thank you so much, Pesach. Malka here from the Wilderness Torah team, just here to give some announcements about what else is coming up this week and to close us out for the day. This week, we are going to have our next session on Wednesday, and it will be with Tirza Firestone, teaching wounds into wisdom, healing our families and changing the world. On Thursday, we'll be taught with Rabbi Zelig Golden around wilderness in the Jewish mind, awakening our Jewish soul. And on Friday, we will have some Nigun singing with Eli and Becca of the Nigun Collective. You can always check out our website, newsletter, Facebook, or Instagram, which has more details about all of these classes and updates to our programming. If you enjoyed Virtual Village, this time allows us to spread things far and wide, as we're hearing from Rabbi Pesach all the way across the seas in Jerusalem right now. You can share our Facebook events with folks across the world, as well as invite them to our Virtual Village Facebook group where we discuss our classes and share ideas. My peer Alana is going to insert some links into the chat that again have our website, our newsletter sign up link, our donation link if you feel called to support our work deeper, as well as a survey if you have feedback to share with us about how we could support you more in these times. Lastly, of course, thanks to Rabbi Pesach. As I'm hearing the helicopters over my head right now here, touchdown in Oakland, California, this has been a morning of some energy moving, some winds and energetic shifts of the southeast energy, and it's good to have some of this needed chaos in order, which is all one and the same. So thanks for bringing us into the mystery, into the unknown. And I'll pass it back to you for any closing words. And that'll be it for us today. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Okay, yeah, let's some closing words. These are words from these are hard words to say a little bit because the world is going through so many birth pangs right now. Let's keep our eye on the journey and the destination, and that maybe wherever we are is where we're supposed to be right now. Maybe whatever we're going through is our teacher. Those are the famous words from Uncle Mordechai to Queen Esther when she was scared. This is from Shir Yaakov. I heard the voice and the sounds of laughter. I looked around and I was alone. I heard this song and the words came after. That's how I found I'm never alone. Adam olam katan, olam adam gadol. And everything that we see is a reflection of the great mystery surrounding and filling me. And I submit willingly to this strange perfection. I heard the voice, the sounds of laughter. I looked around and I was alone. I heard this song and the words came after. That's how I found I'm never alone. Adam olam katan, olam adam gadol. Everything that we see is a reflection of the great mystery surrounding and filling us. We submit willingly to this strange medicine of this moment, healing, perfection. Big love, may peace prevail on earth and in the hearts and the hands of humans. Can I get an amen? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Thank
Peace
you. Thank
prevail
you.
on earth and in the hearts and the hands of each one of us.
Amen.
Okay.
Blessed day, everyone. Thank you.